Hello, I'm Colin Hanworthy from Hostelworld.com, and if you want to know what are the best streets for eating out in one of Australia's most charming cities, what are its best museums, and what are its best parks, go nowhere, because here are 10 things you need to know about Melbourne. Located in the southern east part of Australia and famed for its cafe culture and sporting events, Melbourne is a city you simply must visit if you're going to Australia. Life is a bit more laid back here in comparison to some of its counterparts, but it still has that big city feel. It offers some great day trips, has beautiful parks and is easy to get around. So if you're thinking of visiting, sit back and check out these 10 tips which will help you plan your trip. Melbourne is capital of a state called Victoria and is home to approximately 4 million people. Its city centre is known as the Central Business District, but is better known as the CBD. It's here that you'll find Flinders Street Station, which is the city's best known landmark, along with the river which flows through it, the River Yarra. But by far the best place for a view of Melbourne is Eureka Skydeck 88, which at 285 metres high is the highest observation deck in the Southern Hemisphere.
From up here you can see each and every part of the city. There are two main modes of public transport in Melbourne. First of all, you've got trains, which serve both inner and outer suburbs. Secondly, and more famously, are the city's trams, which can be seen transporting people all over the city.
By far the most popular tram though is the Free City Circle tram. After you.
This tram, which is route number 35, loops the CBD, stopping at or close to many of the city's best known attractions. Along with this free tram, there is also a free shuttle bus in operation.
Melbourne is the unofficial sporting capital of Australia, and unquestionably the most famous venue here is called the Melbourne Cricket Ground, better known as the MCG. When it's full, it fits over 100,000 people, and while it's called the Melbourne Cricket Ground, as well as cricket, you can also see Aussie rules football here.
Other well-known sporting grounds include the Rod Laver Arena, where the Australian Open tennis final is played, and the Flemington Racecourse, where the famous Melbourne Cup horse race is held.
Located right across the road from Flinders Street Station is Federation Square, better known as Fed Square. This is an entertainment and cultural centre that you really should visit.
The main attraction here is the Australian Centre for the Moving Image, which is full of hands-on exhibits and is definitely worth spending a couple of hours in. Fed Square is also where you'll encounter a part of the National Gallery of Victoria called the Ian Potter Centre, which is the world's first major gallery dedicated exclusively to Australian art. When you're in Fed Square, you might even be lucky enough to be treated to some free entertainment, while it's also good to note that free Wi-Fi is available throughout the entire square. Melbourne is home to some great parks and gardens to explore. Close to the CBD are the Queen Victoria Gardens, which are popular with walkers, while beside it are the Royal Botanic Gardens, which cover 38 hectares and are home to over 10,000 species of plant, as well as the imposing Government House. Carlton Gardens in front of the Royal Exhibition Building are also worth checking out.
Albert Park in the neighbourhood of the same name is one of the city's best loved parks. It's built around Albert Park Lake and among other things boasts amazing views of Melbourne's skyline. Central Melbourne is full of alleys, lanes, arcades and narrow streets to explore, such as the Grave Street, which is the perfect place to stop off for a coffee.
Others worth checking out are Centre Place, which is just across the road from the Grave Street, the Block Arcade, which is full of specialist shops, and Howie Place, which is good for fashion. And you can pick up a map of these alleys and lanes from the Melbourne Visitors Centre in Federation Square. Those who like culture will be in their element in Melbourne, as the city is home to a host of fascinating museums and galleries. These include the National Gallery of Victoria, which has over 65,000 artworks spanning thousands of years, the Immigration Museum, which explores the stories of people who migrated to Victoria, and the National Sports Museum at the MCG, which is home to Australia's finest collection of sporting heritage. You can even have a go at the country's most famous sport. The city's flagship museum is Melbourne Museum, which can be found in the Carlton neighbourhood north of the city centre. This award-winning museum has 8 galleries, focusing on everything from natural environment to culture and history. One of the most popular things to do when in Melbourne is go on a trip down the Great Ocean Road. It's one of the world's most famous coastal drives, passing by the famous Bells Beach, as well as through seaside towns such as Lorne and Apollo Bay. But by far the highlight of the Great Ocean Road is a collection of limestone stacks known as the 12 Apostles, which are one of Australia's most iconic landmarks. Melbourne has lots of great neighbourhoods to explore. St Kilda is extremely popular with backpackers, which is largely due to its golden beach. It's also where you'll find the famous Luna Park. Williamstown is also worth visiting, as it's a great place to catch sunsets and get shots of the skyline overlooking the water. If you like to go shopping, then you need to check out central Melbourne, in particular the area around the Burke Street Mall. Along here and other streets such as Collins Street and Swanston Street, you'll find all types of shops. Another neighbourhood you should try and visit is South Yarra, which is where you'll find one of the city's best known streets, Chapel Street, which is also great for shopping. One thing Melbourne is well known for is its restaurants, and there are certain streets that are well known when it comes to eating out, such as Lygon Street up here in the Carlton neighbourhood, which is lined with Italian restaurants. Other streets well known for their restaurants include Little Burke Street in the CBD, which is the heart of Melbourne's Chinatown, Ackland Street in St Kilda, which is lined with places serving all types of cuisine, Victoria Street in Richmond, which is where to head if you're looking for Vietnamese food, and Brunswick Street in Fitzroy, which is where you'll also find a great selection of bars. And remember, wherever you see the letters BYO, it means you can bring your own alcohol. So there you have our 10 things you need to know about Melbourne. Hopefully you'll pick up some hints and tips from what you just saw. For a fact sheet on everything that's in this video, log on to www.hostelworld.com/videos, and for the biggest and best selection of hostels in Melbourne on the internet, stay on the same site.